All right, this is Mr. Gilman. Today we're going to start working with integers and absolute values. All right, and so I know you're probably familiar with integers because those are the numbers, well, they're all whole numbers, that are positive and negative. So not just the counting numbers, which are the natural numbers, not just the whole numbers, including 0 and the positive numbers. Now we're talking about all the positive numbers and all the negative numbers. Okay, and a lot of times they're represented on a number line. So a number line looks like this, and they have arrows on both ends of the number line. That's really important. We call that being continuous. Continuous. And that basically means that the numbers keep going forever and ever in both directions. Okay, now I could put 0 up here, I could put 0 back here, but always to the right of 0, 1 unit is the number 1, and then 2. So it doesn't matter where 0 is on the number line, the next number after 0 is always 1, no matter what. Or, 0 could be over here, and then 1, 2. But that leaves all these spaces right here on this number line that we're not sure of. Okay, and we call those the negative numbers. All right, we call those the negative numbers. So let's take a look at those. All right, my number line, as the numbers get bigger, they move to the right. So my positive numbers move to the right. So I'm going to try to put 0 right in the middle there. And all my positives get bigger as we move to the right, like reading a book. We always go from left to right, smallest to biggest. Okay, but now we're going to have some numbers that are smaller than 0, less than 0 is what we're going to call those. Less than 0, and they go to the left. So no matter where 0 is on the number line, the number right next to 0 is always going to be 1. Right next to 1 is always going to be 2. 3 is always sandwiched between 2 and 4. The negative numbers work kind of the same way. The bigger the negative number gets, the farther it is away from 0. So 5 is actually smaller than 4 in the negative world, and 3 is smaller than 2 in the negative world. But no matter what, negative 2 is always sandwiched in between negative 3 and negative 1. Okay? So the bigger the number gets in the negatives, the farther in the hole you are, the farther from 0, the farther from the positives. Okay? You have probably seen these signs before. A less than sign, a greater than sign, or an equal sign. And if you're not remembering what they're called, less than, greater than, and I think everybody knows what equal to means. Okay, so I want to compare these numbers, negative 5 and negative 3. I'm going to compare them using an inequality or an equality. Okay, and I need to decide which number is bigger, negative 5 or negative 3. Now remember, it doesn't matter where I put 0, so I'm just going to put them way over here. Always next to 0 is negative 1, and negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Now I'm just going to stop right there. All right, and I could keep going if I want. Let's just do that. Okay, just for our first comparison. What I see here is negative 5 is this guy right here. And this is 0, and all these represent the positives over here. All the positive numbers. Negative 5 is way down there. Okay, and negative 3 is right here. Now I can see that negative 3 is closer to 0, closer out of being in the hole than negative 5 is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open towards the negative 3. Negative 5 is actually less than negative 3. It's counterintuitive because you see 5 and 3 and you think automatically, oh, well 5 is bigger than 3. No, you're right that it would be farther in the hole, but it's actually a smaller value. It'd be like owing $5 or owing $3. You'd much rather owe $3. It's because it's a bigger value than negative 5. It could be kind of confusing. Okay, so as I'm comparing these 2 points, always the numbers get bigger towards the right, and negative 3 is farther to the right of negative 5. All right, I'm going to do a different one now. Let's erase. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, here we go. We have negative 100 and negative 3. Oh my gosh, that's going to be tricky to show on my number line, but here's what I'm going to do. Once again, I'm going to put 0 right here. I'm going to go negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, negative 40, negative 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. Okay, so negative 100 is right here. And negative 3 is like right here, closer to 0 than 10. And so as you can see, negative 100 is way smaller, small, 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 small. It's like reading a thermometer. Like negative 100 is really small. Negative 3 not near as bad as negative 100. Negative 3 is a greater temperature than negative 100 if we were talking about degrees. Okay, it's also farther to the right on the number line, which means it is greater than negative 100. Okay, so even though 100 is bigger than 3, in the negative world, everything gets flip-flopped. Let's take a look at another one here. 0 and negative 12. Okay, well, this time I'm going to go, let's just put 0 here, just so we get a little bit of idea. You know what? Let's just get a little idea of what the positives are, so we can kind of compare. I'm going to do negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10, negative 12, negative 14. Okay, so 0 is this guy right here. Okay, nothing. It means nothing. 0 represents having nothing. But negative 12 represents having even less than nothing. It means you owe money, maybe. So you can compare just the numbers on the number line, but you should have in your mind that, well, 0 and all the positive numbers are always bigger than any negative number. And 0 is right here, and it is farther to the right than negative 12, therefore it is greater than negative 12. It always goes in this order, from negative to positive, from left to right. Okay, let's do this last one here. Let's put 0 right here in the middle, and we'll go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 10, and we'll compare 8 right here, this guy, with negative 6. Let's make a big generalization here real quick. All positive numbers are always bigger than negative numbers. So we can put a greater than sign in there because 8 is greater than negative 6. Okay? Let's take a look at the next part here. It says, arrange the numbers in order from least to greatest. You know what would really help us with this? Is probably a number line. So let's think about this. We have, let's just put 0 hopefully near the middle here. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10. Oop, we're going to need a couple more. Negative 12, negative 14. Luckily that arrow says that we can keep going forever if we want to. Okay, so now I'm going to put these points on there in blue so we can see where they're at. So negative 5 is this guy. And then I have a positive 5, which is this guy. Notice how on the positive side it's in between 4 and 6, and in the negative side it's still between negative 4 and negative 6, but it's like a mirror image. A mirror image. If I reflected it across that line, it'd land right on top of its negative self. And then I have 8 and negative 8. See how they're reflected? They're the same distance from here to here as here to here. I have 0. That's one of my points. I have 12. Oh, we're going to have to go a little farther. Right there. I have negative 14 way down there. 1, negative 2, 3, and negative 4. So there's all my points. Now that I have them all on the number line, I know that the smaller numbers are to the left. Over here are the smaller numbers, and over here are the bigger numbers. So I'm just going to write them in order. Negative 14 for that guy. Negative 8 looks like the next one. Then I have negative 5, negative 4, negative 2, 0, 1, 3, 5, and 8, and 12. And so now the orders are in order from least to greatest. Absolute value. Okay, this has to do with what I was just talking about as far as reflection. An absolute value is a distance, and there's no such thing as a negative distance. No matter how hard I press my hands together, they're never going to be a negative distance apart from one another. Okay, it's just not going to happen. 0 is literally as small as something can get. It means nothing. However, in math, we make an exception, because there are things like bank accounts, things like that, where it's okay to be owing more money than you have. All right? An absolute value is always, always, always a positive value, because a distance is always a positive value. And it's important, even for like guessing games and things like that. On The Price is Right, if you guess too small, say the answer was 100 and you guessed 90, well, you'd be the same distance as a guy that guessed 110. So as long as you're closer, that's all that matters, or closest. So you guys would tie, actually. An absolute value is a type of grouping symbol, meaning if there's anything to do inside of it, you would simplify first, and then you take the absolute value of what was ever left inside the absolute value sign. Okay? And they look like this. They're two bars. two bars, two big straight bars like that. If this is a parenthesis sign, the bars would look exactly like a parenthesis sign, but straight up and down. Okay? Those are called absolute values, and actually it represents the distance from zero. That's going to be really important. So as I'm looking at these examples here, let's take a look at number 6. You know what? Those two bars, this represents absolute value, those two bars. Okay, so here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Here's -4. Now, 0 is like the center of the math world. Okay, 0 is very important. 0 is the middle of everything, where everything happens. So 0 is going to be really important for us right here. Okay, what I want to know is, what those bars are asking me is, how far away is -4 from 0? How far away is -4 from 0? What is this distance? That's what it's asking me. I don't really care that it's negative. I just need to know how far away it is. Okay, like when you shoot it at a target, if this was a big target right here, and if you were this far away on this side or this far away on this side, it doesn't matter because it's the same distance away from the center. So you'd set your scope appropriately. So let's just see here. If I'm at -4 now, how far would I be from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4. A distance of 4 away from 0. So the absolute value of -4 is actually 4. And all distances are positive. So if we're talking about a distance, it always has to be a positive value. Let's look at the second one there, and it says, what's the absolute value of +4? Well, once again, here's +4. The absolute value signs are just asking me, how far away is 4 from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 away. So I know its absolute value, or its distance from 0, is 4. Okay? Now, absolute value signs are just like, they're a type of grouping symbols. And so what you do is you simplify what's inside of them first. And then you find the distance from 0. So in this case, there's nothing to actually simplify inside. However, I can find the absolute value of -3. And we don't want to put the -3 with the -2. We want to just find its absolute value first. Okay, we can't do things outside the absolute value with things inside the absolute value. So the absolute value of -3, here's -3. How far is it from 0? 1, 2, 3. It's a distance of 3 from 0. And how far away is 2 from 0? 2. So what we have here is 3 plus 2. That's what it's asking us. The distance away from 0 of -3 is 3. The distance from 0 of 2 is 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5. All right. So no combining in your absolute values. Won't mention any names. Pay attention. All right, here we go. Last but not least, the negative absolute value of 4. My favorite problem. Now this negative, do you see how it's not inside the absolute value sign? It's its own thing. It doesn't matter. It's out there on the outside. We're going to leave him out there. He doesn't change. But now I'm going to take the absolute value of 4. Remember the absolute value of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4. It's a distance of 4 away from 0. So really what it's saying is I want the negative distance of 4 from 0. So I want -4. Okay? Because it's on the outside, it has nothing to do with the absolute value. Okay? So there you go. Intro to absolute value and how to add, or well, identifying the number line. We'll call it that.